Good morning everyone, it's Pierre speaking. It is Tuesday morning, it's the 4th of April 2017. Time is about 9 o'clock GMT time when I made this video clip. Let's have a look at the market, starting off with the Euro US dollar daily chart. Now if we look at this chart guys, then we can see the 4 hour tells us to short. The daily is mixed. Last week we had a big drop. We closed 177 pips lower than the opening. And that move made that we broke the 200 EMA and a 55 EMA. And remember, it's a new month, so we've got new monthly pivot point. And now we have a pivot point at 687. Price broke those levels to the downside, and we're on the other side of this. I find it hard to flip this because we're in between these EMAs. So we've got a couple of opportunities here, or ways how we can trade this. One is to wait for M2 short, where price will pull back to this level 687, 697, where we have those two EMAs and the pivot point for possible M2 short. So price will pull back, make candle formation, and then a drop M2 short. So that is the one way. Secondly, we can go back up here, break to the upside, where you will wait for M2 long, where price broke a resistance level, pull back to the resistance level, and then the move up. Or otherwise, if we do have then that move up, I will re-look to short at 794, where we have a daily 200 EMA and a psychological level at 0800. Euro JPY 4 hour chart. Here everything screams at us that we need to short the 4 hour and the daily. Last week we closed 170 pips lower than the opening. So if we flip previous week from the high to the low, then we've got a zone starting at 119.01. going up to 119.73. In the zone, we've got a weekly pivot point at 119.26. We have a 55 at 119.38. I don't know why my line is up there, but 119.42. That is where the level is, plus previous support resistance. So that will be my two areas in the zone where I want to short. If that break for some reason, also keep your eyes on 119.90. as we have a weekly pivot point there and a 200 EMA. Now, yesterday price had a big tumble. We broke through 118.07, and now we're getting close to a weekly second pivot point at 107.43. I will keep my eyes on that for support area for possible counter long. Remember, this pivot point broke at 118.07, so that was previous support, and that support can turn now into resistance. So that will be your first profit take area. If that break to the upside, keep your eyes on 118.67 and 119.26. If we look at the Euro Pound 4 hour chart, yeah, a little bit mixed guys. The daily tells us to long, 4 hour tells us to short. Last week we closed 159 pips lower than the opening. Now yesterday I also called a long from this level 8517. The main trend was up on the daily. Where did we want to go long? Well, obviously at the daily 200 EMA, psychological level slightly under it. Now I think we can also look for shorts. If we stay on the 4 hour chart, we can flip previous week from the high to the low. We will have a zone starting at 8610 going up to 8673. Just before the zone, we have 255 EMAs, which is the 4 hour 55, daily 55, Bollinger Band, 200 EMA, previous support resistance. And this is what I mean with multiple reasons, guys. The more reasons, the higher the probability that price can react in that area. And this is surely multiple reasons. So I'll keep my eyes on those levels for possible short setups. Possible profit take. Keep your eyes on 8517 because it's a daily 200 EMA, usually a strong EMA, so that can be profit take on that one. Pound US dollar 4 hour chart. I'm sitting on my hands with FIPS on this one, guys. Last week the 4 hour showed us that we need to look for longs. Daily tells us it's mixed. We had a small move. We only closed 28 pips higher than the opening. Now we can't really FIP this 4 hour chart to get the Earth and Sky trading zone, because we're quite flat. Price already moved to the downside. But what I will do is keep my eyes on this level here. Why that level? Well, it's multiple reasons. Once again, we have a 200 EMA there. There's a 55 daily EMA. We've got a weekly pivot point. We've got a psychological level. If we look to the left of the chart, previous support resistance in that same area. So that's the obvious area to keep our eye on. 2406 for possible longs. Profit take area, definitely look at this level here, 2472. Why? Because it's a 4 hour 55, and if that breaks, keep your eye on the psychological level of 2500 and 2511 for that main profit take areas. Pound JPY 4 hour chart. Everything shouts at us that we need to look for shorts on the 4 hour and the daily. Last week we closed 120 pips higher than the opening. So on Monday we couldn't flip this to get a short zone, because if we look at last week we closed 120 pips higher, so we couldn't flip it. Now this morning we had a big drop since yesterday. Now this morning we can flip this from previous high to the low. So then we will have a zone starting at 138.66 going up to 139.58. In the zone we have a 55 EMA psychological level weekly pivot point starting at 139 psychological level. 138.84, 139 will be my areas to keep an eye on. If we do break it to the upside, next line in the sand, 139.60, 139.79. If we make new lows this morning, follow it with your FIP so that the Earth and Sky trading zone can move. But that will be my zone for now. Possible counter trades, look at this 137 level, it's a psychological level, and if that breaks, 136.58 for those possible counter trades. If we look at the Aussie US dollar 4 hour chart, last week we closed only minus 2 pips lower than opening. It's mixed here. The 4 hour tells us to short, daily tells us that we need to long. Now, two ways that we can play this. I think there's a short zone if we stick on the 4 hour. If we flip previous week from the high to the low, then we've got a zone starting at 7618 going up to 7649. Just before the zone we have a 55 EMA at 2612. 200 EMA in the zone, 7626, 7632 weekly pivot point, 7654, 55 EMA. So that is multiple reasons. Look to the left of the chart, also had previous support resistance. So that will be the obvious areas to short this pair while price stays under 7632. Possible longs, look at this. That is a daily 200 EMA at 7547. At a weekly second pivot point, stochastic is oversold, so that will be key support levels for us this week. So keep your eye on that levels there for possible short setups. As I said, if we make new lows, honor it, follow it with the FIP so that the Earth and Sky zone can move with it. Aussie JPY 4 hour chart. This one, last week we closed 52 pips higher than the opening. 4 hour tells us to short, daily tells us to short. We had a drop since yesterday. We can flip the 4 hour from the high to the low. Then we've got a zone 84.62 going up to 85.20. In the zone we've got a weekly pivot point of 55 psychological level previous support resistance. So that will be the first areas where I will look to short. Saying that, yesterday we broke a pivot point at 83.88 to the downside. It was last week's low area, plus we have a 200 EMA there. So there's a possibility that price can move back up here, find resistance again for a couple of pips down again. Okay, but I will prefer a bigger pullback on this one. So I'll wait till price get to my Earth and Sky trading zone. US dollar JPY daily chart. I'm going to stick on the daily chart on this one. Last week we closed 70 pips higher than the opening, so we can't flip the 4 hour. Let's quickly go to the 4 hour. Can you see here? Price was trending up, so we can't flip the previous week to get the short zone. However, what we can do is flip the daily chart, and if we flip the daily chart from the high to the low, then we've got a zone starting at 112.83 going up to 114.17. Before the zone at the 58.2 FIP, we've got loads happening there. It's a monthly pivot point, there's a 200 EMA, there's a 55 EMA, there's previous support resistance. So anything from 112.20 to 112.62, I will keep my eyes on for possible short. We have a problem area in this zone here, 111.18 and 111.55. We have a daily 200 EMA there, plus a 4 hour 55 EMA. So keep your eyes on that for possible roadblock, but I will prefer a bigger pullback on this one, at least to this area there. US dollar CAD daily chart. Looks like this one is breaking the triangle that I showed you to the upside. This is today's candle. We're breaking to the upside. Two things can happen here. We can have a pullback back to this monthly pivot point and this trend line. So look out then for a possible M2 long if price do get pull back. Otherwise, keep your eyes on this level here. 3,500 going up to 3,555. That was previous support resistance. If we look to the left of the chart, it was last month's high area, also a monthly pivot point in that area for possible short setups. US dollar index daily chart. Now this one is mixed. The daily is mixed. The 4 hour tells us to look for longs, and I'm going to flip the daily chart from the high to the low, even if that is mixed on the daily. While we're underneath this 55, that's 200 EMA, I think there's a possibility that we can turn around here. So if we flip it from a high to the low, then we've got a zone 153 going up to 138. Currently we're sitting at 153. It's a 200 EMA, a 55 EMA. If we look to the left of the chart, previous support resistance. So big resistance areas there. If we drop to the 4 hour chart, we can see our price is busy struggling there. And what can you guys spot here? We have MACD divergence showing up here where price is trending up, MACD is trending down, stochastic is rolling over. So we can see that there's a possible short setting up. Also, look at this, price is trending up, looks like a triple top here. 1, 2, 3. So keep your eyes on that level for possible short setup today. And that is it. Have an awesome one. If you've got any questions, please pop in at the forum.